For joining us today on this InvestorFuse success case study. I'm happy to bring Sean Tagge, who I've talked to a bunch, haven't met in person, but we have talked a bunch. I've met his partner, James Wackup, in Phoenix a few years back, and they've been with us on InvestorFuse for quite some time. So happy to have him on the show. Sean, thank you for coming on, man.
Hey, thank you very much, Carlos. Proud to be here.
Cool. And Sean, he has a few roles, but main role is VP of Operations with Memphis Investment Properties. And I'm going to let him speak more to that. But if you guys are listening, they are one of the biggest home buyers and on pace to buy a ton of properties this year. They have a few other facets of their business, property management. I'll let Sean speak to that more. But very smart guy, very numbers-driven guy, and I'm excited to have him on. And hopefully you guys have some great questions for him because he just has a ton of knowledge that he could share that you could start using in your business now. And as the email blast I said today, Q3 of the year is coming up. So this is a great opportunity to watch this video, read books like Traction, and then implement them on your business to really catapult you very much forward. So Sean, would love to hear a further breakdown on your personal background, what you're doing now, how you got into real estate. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. My background is really in biomedical engineering. So, like most people, was incentivized to go get a good college degree so I could have a stable job. So I knew one of the engineering fields was interesting to me, so I searched them all out and really found biomedical engineering to be, the best one for me. And that's kind of more on medical device research, drugs as well, FDA trials and testing, research and stuff like that, mixing, medical devices with engineering. So that's kind of how I started out, and of course graduated from college, got a degree in biomedical engineering, and then started out doing artificial heart research. So the University of Utah is where I was born and raised, and in Salt Lake. So started doing artificial heart research, basically testing new medical devices on patients. I was just working under a couple physicians and doing research for them and seeing how different devices were comparing to the industry standard devices out there. And I love that job, and I love contributing to society, helping people save lives through that. And it was great, but I just, of course, was concerned about my finances, right? Concerned about retirement. And I had a great job and all of that, the whole 9 yards. They'd match my retirement account, 3%, they'd match it. And so I started doing calculations, though, because I'd had to have all my money stuck in the stock market and mutual funds. Being an engineer, of course, I'm like, well, let's project. If I save this much with reasonable pay increases over the years, how long will it take me to retire? And, the stock market makes 4, 6, maybe 10 or 12% if you're doing really good in investing. So looking at that, it would take me 20, 30 years to retire, depending on how good my stock portfolio could be. And of course, I saw, being an engineer, I'm an impatient guy. I'm like, wow, well, is there a better way? There's got to be something out there. And so that's when, kind of during that time as well, I got married. And so we're like, we need a place to settle down. And I knew that renting, you're basically just throwing your money away. So that's when I started looking for a single family house to live in. And I was looking through listings, and it's just crazy in Salt Lake. This is like 2015 time. And the market was going crazy, and things were getting overpriced and bidding wars. What I did see is that there were some houses that had a mother-in-law apartment or like a basement apartment that you could rent out, and that would support, the mortgage or sometimes even cover it. So then I'm like, it just clicked in my head, well, I need to get a duplex or something with a mother-in-law, a triplex or fourplex. So that's really what started me right there, is just like seeing the duplex and the advantage of that, live in, flip, or house hacking. And so I found a duplex after looking for about 6 months, found a duplex and bought it for $250. It was worth probably $300. I put in about 10 in repairs. And this is when I started discovering, bigger pockets and real estate and all the beauty in it. And so the back unit could rent for $1,200. So my mortgage was about $1,200, $1,150 or something. So that's really what clicked in my head. I'm like, I'm going to live for free in this duplex. And I'm like, and I'm really, just a few repairs. And so I was just like, then I just thought, well, the day I move out, I'll be cash flowing, $500-600 a month. So that's where it really clicked for me, is that I'm coming in, I'm building an equity day one, $50K into my net worth, after some repairs, and then cash flowing for the rest of my life after I move out, which I was planning on I was really just like, man, if I do this 10 times, that's enough to cover my living expenses. So that's where it really all clicked. So then I started finding out you can flip houses and all these numbers behind it. I started networking in Salt Lake with other real estate investors nearby. And I mean, that's really where it started, though, just kind of my first personal living experience and seeing the benefit of just even owning your own house hack or duplex living in. Yeah, so that's phase one. So then from there, after I bought my duplex, I just saw the goodness of it. So that's when I started really networking with people. And so I did a wholesale deal, really just found a house for I was networking with other flippers, and I was like, hey, here's a house. Does this work for you? I mean, do you want it? Maybe it would have worked for me. He's like, look, Sean, I like you. I'll just pay you $5,000. And so I had no clue. He's like, here's the contract. Go get him to sign this. It was just like my dad's friend, someone I knew. And so I just locked it up and then just gave the deal to another guy, and he helped me with all the paperwork and just gave me a $5,000 assignment. And so that's where it clicked there. And then I started networking, and then I found another flipper in town and actually partnered up with him. So I would help him raise capital, put in some of my own capital into his flips. And the benefit of that is he would let me see all the numbers, see the rehab and everything. And so I did 2 flips that way. And then really, though, my whole goal was passive income. So from there, sorry, did you cut out? Can you hear me?
I'm here. I hear you. Can you hear me all right? I'm here still. Yeah, I can hear you, Sean. Okay. One of us may have cut out there for a second, but
okay, I'm back.
You're just talking about the focus on passive income. And guys, if you're just joining us, you may have had a little cutout right there, but we're on with Sean Tagge, VP of Operations, Memphis Investment Properties. He's going to have a great breakdown on tracking goals, which is great timing right now as Q3 starting out. And he's kind of diving into his personal background, how he got into real estate. And I'll let him continue from there.
Yeah, so from there I was like, well, I just want to create passive income, especially with the W-2. I had a great W-2 job, so I could qualify for those great loans. And then I just saw that Salt Lake was too hot of a market to really cash flow. Things were getting overbid and priced, and it was crazy. So I started searching around the whole country for better markets where the cash flow was better. We really narrowed it down to a few markets, and then really wound up with Memphis being the number one cash flow market in terms of high rent versus low sale prices. Just naturally, you could buy any average house there and cash flow way better, almost twice as good in Salt Lake comparatively. So that's where I met, Memphis Investment Properties, networking with people in Memphis. Flew over there and I bought three houses and found some contractors and fixed them up through them, and that's where I got 3 rentals on my own in Memphis, doing the BRRRR strategy. So I'd buy it, get it renovated, get it rented, refinance, and then repeat. And so at that point in time, I was getting, so now I'm like 2 years after I bought my duplex, a year or two, and I'm like, I really got to do real estate. I'm so excited about it. As much as I loved engineering and all that, I just see I can get so much farther financially in real estate through owning these rentals and the flips. And I just figured for my, for the benefit of me and really being able to retire a lot quicker, that's where I should go. So I started just talking to people, seeing, hey, I'm looking to get into real estate full time. What's your advice? Or maybe I could partner up with you. So I was kind of in between a couple of things, either becoming an agent or a flipper in Salt Lake, so doing stuff in Salt Lake, or just going over to Memphis and joining up with some company and either being their acquisition manager or partnering with them to do flips, or even just do flips on my own virtually. I mean, so I was kind of all in between all these ideas. And that's where I met James Walkup, and he directed me, hey, my advice to you after hearing all this is sounds like you're ready and you're motivated. I need someone to help me stay organized. I need an integrator, someone who knows numbers, someone who can keep me on task, keep me organized. He was more of a visionary. He's more out and talking to people and getting all that. He's like, I need someone to streamline my processes and business practices. So that's kind of where we started talking, and eventually it came down to where I moved out to Memphis from Salt Lake to join Memphis Investment Properties. And so that's kind of where it started from there in 2017.
Haven't looked back since. Yeah, that background sounds very much like an integrator type personality. to have, and we'll dive into that for sure. We got time here. We're on with Sean Tagge, guys. Bring your questions to him as he goes through this. And let's talk a little bit about, if you could give me like an overview of the different aspects of real estate you're in right now. Touch on those, and then we can just dive into traction, like the most important things from traction. What are the most applicable things that viewers in the community can take away from traction as we're getting close to Q3 and, you know, setting up their teams, processes, systems, things like that?
Sure thing. So Memphis Investment Properties, we're mainly our bread and butter is we're a turnkey company. So what that is we'll buy houses, get them fixed up, take care of all the capital expenditures, get a renter lined up and property management lined up. And then instead of flipping the house to a homeowner, we'll flip it to an investor. So an investor would purchase the house with the intent of owning it as a rental. And so most of our people, we're connecting with people in California, other hot markets like Utah, Colorado, Vegas, other markets where it's hot and cash flow doesn't even make sense. And so they're diversifying and throwing their money over here into Memphis for that passive income and the great cash flow. So that's our main thing. The business is really structured. So there's that turnkey business, Memphis Investment Properties. So then the owners, really James Walkup is kind of the visionary on the team, and then Jim and Brad Reedy, also, Jim Reedy and his son is Brad. They're partners in on the company with James and I, and they have been in the business for years. Jim's been in here for 35 years. He started the property management company, kind of did flips on his own, starting right out of college, and so that's how he's been able to grow the name of Reedy Company's property management company. And they've worked with hedge funds back after the crash, but they're done doing that. So now us all on the leadership team are partnering up and doing those turnkey flips. So then, of course, we do the flips, and then we have another sister company under the same roof called Reedy Company. That's our property management company, and there we manage 1,750 rentals. So that over about 500 owners. So in that, there's, a whole big company in that. That's kind of like our foundation of the building is the property management company. So every investor that buys from us will usually go to us for management, and they have 7 leasing agents, 2 collection agents, a general property manager, 2 client relations people, 3 maintenance call people, so they're answering the phones for the tenant requests, and then probably 20 or 30 people on I'd say payroll, but they exclusively work with us to do the maintenance on the property management side. Then of course the other side is we have a real estate brokerage, so we list properties generally for investors, but also homeowners. So there's that as well in the company. So kind of those 3 divisions. But our main bread and butter that I'm focused on, and kind of over me and James, are the turnkey side with Memphis Investment Properties.
Very cool. And yeah, we can focus on that because I feel like a lot of our community will be selling properties, if they're assigning deals to other investors. So we can definitely focus on that. As far as traction, let's dive into that. And how does that help you? You have your hands in so many different areas. We're going to focus on the turnkey operation, but how does that help you being on the executive team for a large operation? You said over 1,700 rentals, all types of stuff going on. How can an integrator, and you'll dive into that, how can they get value from this book and implementing it?
Yeah. So 2017, here's kind of the growth of the company on the turnkey side. So in 2015, they did about 80 turnkey flips. And then 2016, they did 130. And then 2017, last year, we did 235. And then we're in 2018 right now. We're on projection for 260 to 280. It depends on how many we can acquire in the next few months. So as you can see, we're having almost doubling the growth every year. So by the time 2017 comes around and I'm here, I came in very beginning of 2017, they're experiencing massive growth and growing pains along with that. You can imagine doubling your size 1 year over year over year, how chaotic that can be. And for someone, James, on his side, he's good at that. He's good at making sales. He's good at making those connections and things happen. But what he lacks in is that organization and training people and sitting down and delegating responsibilities to people and hiring and firing and managing them. So that's kind of what my responsibility came on as the integrator, to kind of create peace in the company instead of the chaos, the day-to-day. And so we do that through Traction. It's by Gino Wickman, a great book to read by everyone. I would definitely suggest it. It's really changed our whole operating and really made things from, crazy chaos in the business to more of an organized business. I mean, it's very similar to the E-Myth and other books like that on business. So what I've been able to do is just implement, systems and processes, kind of how you guys do at InvestorFuse. You guys are very organized and have great processes. So just creating training videos, managing employees, helping them handle those issues that come around. What I mainly do is, the number one thing is we have a weekly meeting where the whole team meets up and they report their numbers on the scorecard. So everyone has 3 to 5 numbers in your company. And basically those 3 to 5 numbers lead them to the ultimate goal of producing income for the company, or, what they're assigned to. And so it helps them create, accountability. They're going to have to get up in front of the entire team. Everyone's going to see your numbers, how many deals you got under contract, if it's your acquisition manager, or maybe it's your closing coordinator, how quickly they're getting the loans closed, or how quickly you're able to sell the properties, or the salesman, how many properties you're able to sell. So it's really helping people see how they're doing every month and creating accountability. It also helps you see, how you've done previously, so you can see, hey, we're below on our average of, new leads coming in, or perhaps we're up higher on appointments, so you can kind of project income and things from that. So it's been really amazing to have that. That's created a lot of clarity, and as we know in real estate, things can come in waves and can really be emotionally testing for you. But when you have this, you kind of have more of a pulse on how your employees are doing and how your company is doing, and able to project better. Then, of course, so that breaks down the weekly day-to-day. Another thing in Traction that really has helped us so much is having quarterly rocks. So what that is basically just a quarterly goal. And what that is basically you're breaking down your yearly goal into 4 quarters and just setting a different rock to accomplish your yearly goal. And what that is helping people do is, it's really you're focusing on kind of in Stephen Covey's book, important and not urgent, urgent and important, not urgent, not important, all those. It's helping you focus in the main quadrant, where it's not urgent, but it's important. So that's what your quarterly rocks are. So perhaps it's, create a re-edit your template emails that you send out to leads, or, revamp your follow-up process on how we reach out to people when we're following up with them. Or another one recently is create a booklet, like a presentation booklet, for when we go out on an appointment to present an offer to a seller, a credibility packet. So it's those things that, you always put off, right? And so we love having those because it really forces you. You have to mention every week, hey, I'm on track or off track of this quarterly goal. And it helps you focus on that non-urgent but very important stuff that will help you. It's going to help you ultimately get more leads or get more deals, but it's going to be indirectly affecting it, right?
Right. As a tech tip, do you guys have anything, or do you care to share how you guys monitor that? Like, we use the project management tool Asana, for example.
So we've looked into those and all that. I mean, really, right now we just have a Google spreadsheet. We share it all on there. Hey, it works. Yeah. And keep it on there. Of course, Podio as well. Really is, InvestorFuse or Podio. We have that as well for our numbers and tracking the whole database, so they can report it. We keep it on that, and then just go through each one, our rocks, and just have them up there and make sure we're on track or off track. And we all help each other out and brainstorming how to solve that certain thing we're focusing on for the quarter.
For sure, man. The accountability is huge, and we're in such a qualitative human-to-human business. But having those quarterly rocks and the weekly meetings going over just KPI, the key performance indicators, how many leads, everything gives it a quantitative approach to what you can do to improve, and it gives you that's going to give you your best chance at a pulse in the company, how you can improve, feedback loop system, everything like that. So I'm sure you have a ton of insight on how that's helped you guys since you joined, like you said, in the beginning of 2017, about a year and a half doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm such a data guy, but I love taking it back to, hey, we had our best week in getting deals under contract. And then my best question is, why? How'd that happen? What are you doing, our acquisition manager, Eric, what are you doing on these appointments? What did you do differently? Or where did these leads come from? How'd you get the lead? How'd you call them? What did we say? And so that's where it really gets interesting is, sure, the numbers help you really point it out, but then you always ask why. And that's what really helps those, because some people on my team are numbers oriented and they understand it, but others are more, relationship in that. So that's where that really helps them is we'll get up there and whiteboard it, how you did good. Or sometimes we'll be like, hey, look, we're struggling on this number on, our average time to close or whatever it is. Why is this happening? And really just breaking it down. And it helps you realistically just see the straight facts instead of just an emotion. Because a lot of people will tend to make up an excuse, right? Blame someone else. But when you see a number and they're responsible for that number, it takes the blame away from them. And, we're not here to be like, hey, you're the worst, you didn't do this. But you just ask, how can we improve this number? What went wrong this week? And it really helps them kind of break down and really see the back, take a step back and see how they can improve in their position and or keep doing what they've been doing right. So yeah, numbers are very essential, and reporting those every week has really changed. And I'll admit, starting off, I started January, the first 3 months, we'd always have someone, oh, I forgot to put in my numbers or this or that. But now after 6 months, a year, it's so nice. It's really hard, that discipline for the first 3 months, but now everyone enters them in and they love it. They love reporting that and they love showing off, right? They love to show that, hey, I'm killing it, or hey, I'm being consistent. I'm doing everything right. And if you're doing those things right, the other numbers will come. So yeah, it's been good.
Absolutely, man. Let's talk a little bit about how you do that for marketing campaigns specifically. I know when we were talking via email and off air, you were saying like, hey, we have the numbers on this marketing campaign. If it's not performing, we get rid of it and move on to something else. So you could probably give some good insight to that, since a lot of our members are focused on like lead generation and marketing.
Right. So first off, it's a hot market here, and as it's with everywhere else. So we're doing all we can to find deals on. We're really nothing secret, really. We're doing every trick in the book that everyone else is doing. Just remaining consistent. A couple things that we've done first off is we hold, like we mentioned, since we have those numbers reported every week, I just put in how much money we spent, and for each campaign and what leads we got, and then how many appointments we went on from those leads. And then of those appointments, how many we got into contracts. So it really just helps us see which lead or which campaign source is doing the best. And then how much money we put in and how much estimated profit we get out. That's holding every marketing dollar accountable. So what we do, first off, we commit to a marketing campaign for 6 months. It's been time and time again. We'll try a campaign such as we tried out, probate leads. And the first 4 months of mailing, nothing. Spending all this money on it, and you can get discouraged. But we just said, okay, we're not going to really look at the numbers until 6 months of marketing. And the reason being is because, really most of your deals hit that last time you mail. And so, we revamp it and just look retrospectively 6 months back, and we'll just have the whole list and sort it by highest producing ROI to least, and then every quarter we discuss, okay, we're doing good in this marketing area. Let's ramp this up if we can. Or in this one, these are our bottom 20. Maybe let's kill them or adjust our strategy, or kill them and put them into another marketing bucket.
Mm-hmm. And yet to have a little cut-in point here, with this day and age, 2018, like there's so much knowledge and information available, and it's like the hyper connectivity era where you can just like reach out to somebody on Facebook or hit them up, whatever. But I think what you're bringing to the table today and for your company is like all the different competitors in Memphis or other markets could be doing these lead generation or marketing tools. But the ones who can rise to the top are the ones that actually analyze their numbers, have a feedback loop system, have their team accountable, and they're able to take educated actions off of their marketing analyzations. Yeah,
exactly. It's really holding your employees and your marketing dollars accountable. And it's really just from being transparent, right? Being transparent on the numbers, and that's it. So, and it also creates, I can sense, like other people who are not data oriented, they tend to just go off their emotions, right? They think, oh, this campaign source is doing good because we got one great deal off of it a year ago, but now it's not doing as good. But they still remember that one deal from a year ago. So numbers really help you face the facts in the current time. I kind of sense a lot of that. People will stick to a campaign source because it was great a while ago, and it prevents them from really seeing the facts when they're not looking at it. So yeah, you're right.
Absolutely. Good point there. And that's what I was going to say. Like the numbers help discern from the emotion. Like as important as like emotion and instinct and stuff like that is,
Yes.
when it comes to marketing return ROI, Greg Bilbo calls it the golden ratio. If you were to put $1 into your marketing machine, how much are you going to get back off that investment? Right. So much of that is just data analytics and having to roll with that.
Yeah, and that's why it's nice having a InvestorFuse, because you guys have that all just in the system. It all goes in, and it helps you just track it a lot easier. And so that's been very helpful to kind of see those and be able to pull those reports fairly quickly. And so it's like there's such a in traction, there's such a combination. Like you mentioned, there is the intuition. You do have to have that intuition and the industry experience, which is what our partners Jim Reedy, Brad Reedy have, and James. But then also me, kind of having that the statistics and the logic sense of it. When you combine both of those, that's where it really gets powerful, because you're using both of those to kind of help you give each other feedback on both ends. And so they kind of direct me, hey, let's try this out. And I'll like, hey, we'll do it, and we'll try it out. And it's cool to get the feedback, so then we can all adjust together. That's really interesting to see that synergy. If you've ever read Traction, definitely you'll hear a little bit about that in the book.
For sure, yeah. I think an interesting point, just to go back to like the instinct side and more personality side, breaking down the two characters that we were talking about. If you want to go into the actual integrator, which Sean has mostly been talking about, because that's him himself, like a numbers, quantitative, science type background possibly. And then there is the innovator, the visionary, who is more so maybe like your
salesman,
extroverted entrepreneur type that has that future vision but needs help staying on track. So you can definitely dive into those. And would you say it's a good idea to have like a team set up of both of those before even starting or before starting to scale possibly?
Great. Yeah. So, first to answer your last question, I think, it's definitely an interesting synergy with having both. You don't necessarily need that to start out though. You could just go start on your own, and having either one of those personalities, you'll be able to get so far, right? Jim, obviously this company, they got to, doing 130 a year. But it just, after there comes a certain point. So if you're just on the visionary side, if you're just a go-getter, not very organized, that's what the visionary typically is. A salesman or an entrepreneur, their head is up in the clouds. They have 1,000 new ideas every day, want to try them all. So they're juggling 50 balls at once, and really none of them go into place, or they'll throw something at the wall, hopefully something sticks. That's kind of that person. They're sometimes like an acquisition type of person, like to go and talk, make big relationships and big things happen. But they don't like to stay organized. They don't like to look at their numbers. They don't like to kind of step back and try to see things from the big, that type of organization. They don't like to really manage employees and hire them. Where the integrator in Traction is someone who is more organized, more of an operations person, scientific background. They love looking at numbers and data. Typically they not necessarily want to talk to people as much. They can, these are just general on people, and they're kind of more beating the drum. They can just keep everything consistent, keep the organization just going at a steady, constant pace. And they're more like they want to maybe do one or two ideas at a time and see if they work, and then go from there. Instead of the visionary wants to do 20 at a time. Really starting out though, you'll kind of know when you hit your breaking point, and it's when things get chaotic, or if you're not doing enough deals. And so, if you're a visionary, you'll just notice when if things are too chaotic, and that's when you might want to look at bringing on a partner or hiring someone that can keep things organized for you. And when you're an integrator, you might at the start just think of trying to network more. Really, you got to work on being an extrovert, talking to people more, and building those connections. It's kind of my advice if you have one of those either personalities.
Yeah, for sure. And I stopped at a local networking event, just like a happy hour for wholesalers around here. And I had a good conversation with the host, Daniel, and he was talking about how important it is. And I agreed how important it is, especially when you're starting partnerships or looking for people to add to your team, just being transparent in the value that you could provide moving forward. So that's kind of like the conversations. If you introduce yourself, you start networking, you say, hey, Sean, I got a scientific numbers type background. I think I'd be good at like operations, managing people, things like that. You might be able to find some type of, more acquisitions type sales, like you were saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, and really, people tend to stick around with who they're like, but that for some reason that wasn't me. I wanted to meet up with those kind of more visionary type of people, and so that's kind of what got myself out there. Yeah, so you definitely want to try to join forces with someone who's different than you, has different strengths, and also their strengths are their weaknesses are your strengths, and vice versa. Because that's really where you can kind of divide and conquer, and really go deep. You both go a mile deep, but just in your perspective realm of what you're good at.
Yeah, man, that makes a ton of sense. Moving forward, where do you guys see your? Oh, I know we're talking about more so the turnkey operation, which most of our viewers are into. But like moving forward, you have close to a year and a half with this company, having a lot of success. Looks like you're feeling good, managing the team, doing ops as the integrator. Where do you guys see in moving forward the rest of this year? We just touched on a little bit, and moving forward from there.
Yeah, so from looking back on when we started to where we are now, we have such a good grasp on our operations, and we're now handling issues. We're like, hey, we know how to handle this. We have a protocol for it. Here's what we do, and we're kind of more preemptively handling things before they even happen. So things are not quite as chaotic. Let's knock on wood. Things come in bursts. But so now we're seeing that we can expand. We're potentially looking at other markets to move into. Within like a 3-hour radius of here. So there's that. There's pros and cons to that as well. We're also looking into doing bigger deals. So we've actually sold a couple of multifamilies. I'm looking to acquire those, get into that. So that's what Jim and Brad have gotten into really on that end. So it really just kind of goes from the scalability going up into larger deals. We're also building houses. So, we've always been building houses, but we're building more and more and looking into building because inventory is getting tighter. And, of course, just try to stay consistent on doing, 200 to 300 turnkeys every year. And just getting, even tighter and a tighter ship with our systems and processes. You can always improve a little bit here and there.
I like how you're casually saying 200 to 300 turnkeys,
right.
Turnkeys a year while having over, like 1,500 rental units.
Right. We also are looking to wholesale a little more. So, I think 2016 we wholesaled maybe 1 or 2. 2017 we did about 13 or 14. And it mainly because, we're the buyer. We're mainly buying everything. But so we're looking into that to kind of grow that side. Leads that we would not really even look at or go at. We're going to go on the appointments, lock it up, and maybe help someone else find a deal that would work for them. And it maybe even work for our parameters. So that comes on the end of just squeezing the orange more, right? So you get so many leads, and only so many fit our buying criteria, right? We have to go through a bunch. So we still have X amount that might be decent deals for someone else. Maybe someone wants to own it themselves, or another turnkey person, and it works for them. So that's another thing is, it's so interesting. You can still have the same amount of leads, but you can always work them in different ways, and also listing them. So we're listing leads as well for people. So that's kind of how we've been able to even maximize our profits more and more by just doing the same amount of work. Our acquisition manager is still going on the appointment, but he has in his back pocket, instead of buying it for turnkey, he could wholesale it, he could list it, he could try to get subject to and maybe assign the subject to someone. We know some other people who'd want that. So that's kind of also as well what we're focusing on.
Yeah, you guys definitely have a Swiss Army knife of options in monetizing leads there with your guys' huge operation. I want to touch on one thing, and this may be you if you're the integrator numbers guy, and I think that this is something for some of the operations that are listening or that will catch this that are looking to scale into other markets. Are you the one in the company that's doing the analyzing for other markets and potentially jumping into those? And maybe we could touch on that a little bit about how you go into analyzing a market. And honestly, I talk to people from all over. Memphis just seems like one of the, for lack of a better term, hottest markets as far as people just wholesaling, getting rentals there for cash flow, everything like that. And clearly you did that from when you went from Salt Lake, like you were saying earlier, you went from Salt Lake to Memphis and you just made the jump moving out there.
Yeah, so in terms of analyzing another market, so we're different because we're looking at markets that would fit our niche again, so we are looking at markets that will fit turnkey, right? So that's kind of what works for us. So really it's analyzing the rent to value ratio, right? Mm-hmm. What are the average rents in this city and what are the average sell prices? Does that work? When we work backwards, we already know what our investors are paying in Memphis and buying our properties at. So we just work backwards from there. But then it comes down to just, kind of the, really for right now, it's really now we're kind of on the decision, do we want to expand? So it's like going into traction, it kind of goes on to, we have in traction tells you to have like a 10-year vision and have like a core focus and a core, your core values. And really right now we're kind of in the roads of, is that where we want to be? Do we want to go and do another 100 homes or 50 homes in another market? Or are we fine with being where we're at here and just continuing this great business we have now? And then we're kind of in between that. So right now that's kind of in the talks on, how will going into another market affect our quality, right? And all of that as well, because we do want our investors to have still our staying quality stamp of a renovation on our turnkey properties and when they buy it. And how will we be able to vet a property management company? So it's like we're still weighing the pros and cons. We've gone to a couple cities and analyzed it, and as I kind of mentioned, it's really just average price, check out what some renovation costs are, and what the average rent is, for at least analyzing it for turnkey.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that.
Yeah, and for you guys, it's somewhat probably, rinse and repeat, just because you guys have done so many, you have so many rental units. Right. So it's kind of just, I would assume you kind of heading the analyzing the different markets for, what you could rent properties for, making sure you're still taking care of your clients, everything like that.
Yeah, it's using my analytics and then the industry knowledge from Jim, Brad, and James, and really kind of all coordinating together based on the numbers, which one of these markets would potentially work. So it's really an interesting combo we have with connecting, the data with the intuition and the industry knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Awesome, man. I know you've been dropping some great advice here so far. We don't have a ton of interaction as far as questions coming in. But what advice would you give to companies you think that, they may be starting out a business like this and they may or may not have an integrator? What type of advice would you give those companies?
I mean, if you're starting
Traction, read the book Traction starting off.
Yeah, that's it. Read Traction. And then, so if you're a visionary, read Traction. Then at the very back of Traction, it says how to start. Just read maybe that last chapter in Traction. That's the back part. And you need to apply that. It's really, the important part is focusing on the non-urgent but important things. And it's stuff that people overlook because they're thinking, oh, I'm not making money organizing this dashboard or tracking these metrics. I'm making money when I'm going and getting a deal under contract. But really in the long run, it's gonna help you make way more and help you save a lot more of your time and keep things less chaotic. You'll be able to have a better life as well in general if you try to organize things in that sense.
Yeah, spoken like a true integrator.
Yes.
Absolutely. Stephanie, thank you for hopping on here, late starter here. We're on with Sean Tagge, VP of Operations for Memphis Investment Properties, casually talking about how many deals they're doing this year, 200-300, all different types of areas they cover. Very happy to have him on here. And yeah, man, looking forward to your success here. I know we got 2.0 launching soon. Excited to get you and your whole team onboarded onto that.
Yeah, well, I can see that just helping us. Right now it's like if we can just even improve 1% or 5% with so much volume we're doing, it really affects everything. So if we can cut costs by 5%, or if we can, cut our marketing costs down by 5%, or become 5% more efficient in anything, which I really think that's how 2.0 will help us be. It'll help our lead coordinators save 5, 10, 15% of her time, and that's just going to help us be better and better and saving costs and then really have a huge effect on so much volume. Mm-hmm. So that's where it gets really cool is seeing that and how all that works. So yeah, we're excited for 2.0, and we'll jump right on.
Absolutely, man. We are as well. Thank you for coming on the show today, Sean, and hopefully we'll have you on again soon. Any parting words for the audience here?
Hey, just I guess really looking at myself 3 years ago, if I tell myself, I would say I'd say your net worth is equal to your network. So I would not be here if I wasn't talking to people, if I wasn't asking for advice. I guess just be sincere on what you're doing, and just through your actions, showing that you're working hard and trying to make things happen if you're starting out. You'll be surprised at how many people will reach out to you and talk with you and help you out. And who knows, you might even be able to create a great partnership. And I've been able to do that several times over in Salt Lake. I partnered with a couple people on flips and wholesales. And then also here in Memphis, partnered up on growing this business. And so really, you got to have a self-awareness of, what your qualities are and what you have to bring to the table. And don't overlook that. Just because you're different in some way, you do have something to add value. And then just letting your desire shine through and your passion and talking to people. You got to get out there. That's kind of weird for me being an integrator, but that's just kind of what I noticed. You have to talk and listen and understand what other people are doing, and you'll find partnerships through that way, and you'll find mentorship and everything else you need just doing that.
Great advice, man. Appreciate that, and appreciate you coming on, and we'll chat soon.
Okay, thanks a lot, Carlos. Have a good one.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.